My name is Kenny Tan. Welcome to the Real Biz Academy. On this channel, I train people how to get a real estate license in the state of California. And once they get their license, I also train them how to become a realtor. Have you ever had to deal with a solar panel in a real estate transaction between a buyer and a seller, and you don't know how to deal with it? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to negotiate solar panel and how to resolve them before close of escrow. Coming right up. Now, in the standard residential purchase agreement, the solar panel clause can be found. Okay, let's go to the solar panel clause. Solar panel does not have a addendum because usually it's already provided in the purchase contract. So let's talk about that. That will be on 8B5. It says leased or lien items and systems. Lease is lease. Lien has to do with situation where the owner, the seller, did not lease the solar panel. Rather, the seller financed the solar panel. So there is actually a difference between the two. See, when the seller leases a solar panel, seller doesn't own the solar panel. So the seller can't really say they own the solar panel. But if it's a lien item, the seller may own the solar panel, however, because they financed it. So there is a second mortgage or lien against the property. There is a difference between the two. When it's a lease situation, it involves transfer or assignment of the lease from the current owner to the new owner, the buyer. And it will require certain paperwork to be prepared and signed by the buyer. Here's my advice to you. Because of the pandemic, potentially a solar panel could cause a delay in close of escrow for two reasons. It could cause a delay in the loan process, or it could cause a delay in getting the assignment signed. So two situations could cause the delay because it is a leased solar panel. The lease had to be assigned. Now, if it is a finance solar panel, it's actually easier. If it's a finance solar panel, it's actually just between the seller and the financing company. You see, financing doesn't have to be done by the solar panel company. It can be done by a third party loan company, right? So it's just a matter of contacting them to get the payoff demand. So you have to do a request for payoff demand. But again, during the pandemic, don't do it last minute. If you have solar panel, address it early. I can't tell you how many times solar panels cause a delay in close of escrow. So I just want to impress upon you that that is one of the first few things you're going to have to take care of if you have solar panels that are related to the sale of the property. Now, what does this paragraph say actually? Now let's go to the language so you have an idea what the standard contract says. 8B5 says seller shall within the time specified in paragraph 14A, that is just the physical inspection contingency period, disclose to buyer if any item or system specified in paragraph 8B or otherwise included in the sale is leased or not owned by the seller or specifically subject to a lien or other encumbrance. Now, first of all, are solar panels fixtures? Yes, solar panels are fixtures from the way they are attached to the roof. By definition, a solar panel is a fixture. Because a solar panel is a fixture, And if it's a lease or a lien item, that has to be disclosed to the buyer during the physical inspection period. Okay. Now, certainly, if you're a seller or the listing agent, you want to disclose to the buyer even during the negotiation phase. Because as a buyer's agent, when you go to the property, you'll be able to see if there are solar panels on the roof, and you immediately bring to the attention of the buyer and also ask questions of the listing agent whether it's leased or owned. Okay. Owned means they could have paid for it in full or they could have financed it. And then second part, it says deliver to buyer all written materials such as lease, warranty, etc. concerning any such item. So for the property that I just got into escrow today, that one, the listing agent actually sent me a copy of the lease, so I was able to read it and kind of discussed it. When you read the lease, understand what are the important terms in the lease. First of all, how many years is the lease? You need to be able to communicate with the buyer how many more months remain on the lease, because the buyer has the right to decide if they want to assume the lease or they don't want to assume the lease, because that could be critical. There are some buyers out there who don't want to assume the lease. So the sooner you find out, the better it is for everyone. See, just imagine you have a buyer that fell in love with a property and then they open escrow and suddenly they found out that solar panel, they don't like solar panel. Number one, there are some buyers that don't like solar panel. Number two, even if they like solar panels, they may not want to assume the lease. See, some seller don't want to pay off and they may not be able to pay off. I think they can. Most solar panel leases actually allow the seller to pay off, not pay off, but negotiate a sale from the solar panel company to the seller. But how many sellers have motivation to negotiate a sale of the solar panel to the seller? Very few sellers have that motivation. So in other words, they would rather just have this thing assigned to the buyer. Now, if the buyer loves solar panel and does not mind the assignment, then it's okay. Everything is going to work out. But if the buyer does not like it, then there is a provision in here that says buyer's ability to assume any such lease or willingness to accept the property subject to any such lien or encumbrance is a contingency in favor of buyer and seller. So the solar panel is a contingency for not only the buyer but also the seller. So if the buyer does not want to assume, then the seller can say, I want to cancel the purchase contract. Now, if the buyer does not want to assume, the buyer can always say, I want to cancel because I can't assume or I don't want to assume. So both sides have the same contingency. Okay. So really, you don't really have to add anything to the addendum because this is the standard purchase contract. And then number 6 says seller represents that all items included in the purchase price, unless otherwise stated, are owned by the seller and shall be transferred free and clear of all liens and encumbrances. Now, the number 5 is actually an exception because unless otherwise stated, everything is assumed to be owned by the seller, but the solar panel or the water softener, sometimes the seller may lease the water softener, just as in the case of a what I call it, the solar panel. All right, that's it on solar panel.